Hello and welcome to another Roundtable Galactic Goddess session on Moons of Ascension. And we are all super excited to be here today. We are welcoming in a new sister onto the roundtable today with us, and I'll introduce her in just a moment. But just want to say thank you. Thank you for joining us. And we're going to talk a lot about what's coming up on deck for us with this next cycle of the moon. We are about to have our fall equinox here in the Northern Hemisphere and the spring equinox in the Southern Hemisphere, but we're also coming into a new moon this weekend. The energies are potent and we have some amazing support that's coming through right now for us to tap into. So we're going to share a little bit about what that is. So on that note, I'm Jen Berryhill, tuning in from Denver, Colorado on Moons of Ascension. And I'm going to toss it out to these wonderful, amazing goddesses that are choosing to be here with us tonight, today, this morning, wherever you are. And they can share a little bit about where they're coming in from and what they're up to these days. And then we're going to dive in and share what's going on next. So Zoe, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Zoe Anna. I'm from Sydney, Australia. I'm a somatic body worker. I work a lot with people with sexual trauma, SRA. What else do I do? I run events, retreats. I'm a bit of a shaman. And yes, I'm on a mission here to support others on their ascension journey, so they can really tap into their gifts of what they're here to share with humanity.
Beautiful. So good to have you back with us today.
Thank you.
And Mel, what are you up to these days?
Yeah, hi. I'm in India right now. I'm in Rishikesh, yoga capital of the world, jumping into ashram life for a month. And yeah, if you want to look, I have many offerings. I'm doing some earth activation retreats. I do ceremony work. I'm offering some course material right now and some one-on-one witnessing in different aspects. You can go to Star Body Earth to check out those offerings if you'd like to know more about me.
Wonderful. Welcome. Thanks for coming in. And Amanda, can you share about who you are and what you're up to these days?
Yes, my name is Amanda DeCarlo, medicine name Standing Woman, and my facilitation is breath.dance, breath and movement for wholeness, including Reiki, sound healing, breath work, elemental wisdom, yoga, really anything to encompass embodiment and integration of our daily lives, of our ceremony, of our practices, and everything in between. I have a private practice here in Aurora, Colorado, where I do an integrated sound healing work. And I'm also working a lot in the city right now with elemental breath work for wholeness. So really helping people find different breaths to self-regulate, no matter where they are in their life right now. So that's kind of where I'm at in the world, spending a lot of time in the garden and in the woods and just having that self-regulation now as well. Season of harvest.
Yeah, beautiful harvest time. It's so great to have you joining us too, Amanda. She and I are, we've been doing ceremony together for probably a couple years now. So she's really familiar with the Star Altar teachings. She did a presentation at a one-day Star Knowledge event that we did in Golden, Colorado a couple years ago. She works very closely with some of her own symbols and teachings that have been downloaded to her through the Star realms as well. And so she comes to Sweat Lodge with us frequently, and she's just an amazing Arcturian giant goddess that has a lot of great information. So it's really fun to have you here too, Amanda. And of course, Mel, you've been to many of our Star Knowledge conferences and have been part of the roundtable discussions along with Zoe and myself. So yeah, I am really excited to be here with you all tonight because we are, like I said, we're having this fall equinox shift and then this new moon that's coming up. but we're waxing out of the quarter moon of the bare moon influence, which was Eu. And we were in ceremony, and we're working with the cosmic sound, the spiritual law of cosmic sound. And these amazing beings that swim in the ocean, these ocean nations, the galactic whales, came through so strongly during the ceremony. And it was such a great awareness that they are the ones that are really bringing us the tones of these 13 tones within the ascension. So working with the star altar calendar, each moon cycle opens up a new gate, and there's a test. So there's a moon, a test, a gate, and a star DNA activation. There's a tone, and there's a star realm that works with each moon influence and symbol. And so this month coming up with the new moon, the gate that opens is the StarGate of Purification. And it's working with the symbol of the universal law of innocence, truth, and family. So it's grandmother spider that comes in that works with this purification, along with Sihatanka, which is Bigfoot, and the Gautama, or I'm sorry, I always say this wrong, Gautama Buddha.
Gautama Buddha.
Thank you, Mel. I know you can help me tune that up.
The Buddha's my babe. Like,
so yeah, they're the guardians that work with this symbol this month, but the spider really is like the big overarching kind of like the powerhouse that comes through for us in this next moon cycle, working with helping us just cut cords and cutting away just any attachments and false light, any negative beliefs, any psychic attack, so that we can be really pure and clear and have a stronger connection to Creator. So it's a time when we can really reflect on the experiences that we've had. So looking at triggers, looking at emotional upsets, any experiences that brought us maybe into a state of fear. And that's really the opposite of what we want to be in, because we want to be in a state of unconditional love. So when we can do the work to look at those experiences and maybe transform beliefs or perceptions around some of those experiences and bring in the forgiveness that we need to sort of separate from the trauma and the emotion, then, it's a great time to cut the cord and kind of like get a free energy boost, because when we carry around all that excess stuff in our minds and the maybe lower frequency vibrational emotions, it's really draining our energy. It's keeping us from having a strong connection. So the goal this month really is to elevate into a more empowered place. And Unchi Iktomi comes in and helps us with that. So the star DNA activation comes to us through the Orionis, sacred Orionis constellation. And what I like to say about Orion and their influence is they are the masters of navigating a dualistic reality. So a lot of people have fear around Orions, thinking that they're negative, gray. But just like with any other sentient being, we're all capable of expressing light and dark. So the encouragement is to place your focus on calling in the ambassadors that work with our star altar, that can come help with us, or come help us with navigating what might seem like a duality of perception and reality, because they represent the 12 lords of light and the 12 lords of darkness, which are within us all. And they work with that center pole of reality. So it's all about balance. So wholeness and balance. And they really, they're so present right now, because the other day I was actually out in my backyard and we had about 5 ships flying overhead for a good solid hour. And the energy that I was feeling from them was very, they were from Orion. And so they're very present. And I think a lot of people are starting to see more action in the sky too. So we're getting a lot of help right now. And so the tone that comes in with this particular dimension, so we're in the 11th dimension, which is the spider moon, and the tone is A sharp. And studies, like, it has been scientifically proven that the key of A can actually cure or clear, I don't want to say cure, but clear cancerous cells out of a body. And so just by laughing and maybe tuning into music or frequencies in the tones of A and A sharp, we can really do a lot on a cellular level. And so that's another teaching that the whales are also bringing through is, you know, sing our songs and express our words with love. And this is also a great way to attune our DNA to these higher realms, because, you know, we're passing through 13 moons, 13 gates, 13 tests, 13 tones, and 13 star realms so that we can ascend to the 13th frequency, which is love. So I'm going to say just about that much right now. And I want to hear from all of you ladies. We should have an interesting discussion around what purification is, and maybe relate it to how we can apply that into our lives right now as we're sort of navigating whatever might be going on in the collective and in your personal realities. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to call on somebody here. How about you, Mel? Do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Just want to like honor my intuition and my soul self who knew that this is coming, right? And placed myself in the perfect place for purification, right? I'm here at an ashram. We have beautiful organic vegan food that's made for us. We get to practice silence 12 hours a day, and we're doing Kundalini yoga training. So we're doing so much breath work and so much movement and working with the energy body, and yeah, taking that time to integrate those teachings as well. So that's like what's on deck for me in terms of purification. And I think that what's coming through as well right now as the bare moon closes, as that introspection leads into this purification, is that, you know, I've left Australia after being there for 2.5 years. And there's a book that has come into my sphere that someone recommended. I've gotten it recommended to me maybe 4 times now. I finally listened to the call and started reading it on the airplane. And it's just doing this beautiful synergistic closing of all the work and the things that I was tuning into about the disharmonies that were going on that continent. So the book is Mutant Messages from Down Under. And it tracks this woman's experience walking with the indigenous there on the land. And it really deeply gives a transmission about the indigenous way and their connection to the land and their telepathic connection with each other and their support of each other's gifts, and how each gift is really a special offering to the collective. And so I just love that as I'm going into this time at the ashram, because I'm just noticing, like, if I have like a flag around somebody's behavior or the way that they're operating, and, you know, in any context on social media or in the ashram, I just keep like asking myself, what's the gift that they're offering to the collective? And that's neutralizing this duality that we're talking about. You know, it's actually bringing it to it is what is moment. And I think that's also part of the purification. It's like checking those things and actually flipping it and asking, well, what is that person? How are they being of service to this collective synergistic ascension that we're in? So yeah, that's where I'd like to just leave that.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah. And I love that you brought in, you know, looking for the gift, because that is at the precipice of, you know, shifting perceptions. You know, when we're in a low vibration, we're triggered and we're feeling maybe disempowered or in maybe a victim state, the name of the game is shifting perspective so that we can bounce into an elevated empowerment, co-creative vibration. And so by looking for the gift, I mean, that is such a quick and powerful way to have a transformation. And
Well,
like,
and I just, yeah, there's one, like, I'm just thinking of it, an example, like the, you know, when someone's acting out of what alignment or integrity, right, for the space, and they're not aware of, you know, kind of a respectful way. It's like a beautiful opportunity to be like, oh, they just don't know. They're operating from like the place of not knowing. What an opportunity to actually be able to teach another, or, you know, like to honor that they're in a childlike way right now. You wouldn't get angry at a 4-year-old acting that way. They just don't know. They haven't been taught properly. So it gives an opportunity for someone to come in and be that guide. And so it's like even that level of like reattuning your perception, this feels like so important right now.
And holding that space with compassion, and also, you know, like being able to recognize that none of us know all of it. None of us have all the answers. And so, you know, just exercising the compassion for somebody that does come in, it's such a beautiful way to move through realities. Awesome. Thanks, Mel. How about you, Amanda? What do you want to share?
Thank you, Mel, for sharing that perspective. It's those teachings of asking if the gift is so important, because the catalyst is such an important part of our opportunity to serve our dharma. Is there's always the catalyst, there's always the yin and the yang, the clown, and the performance of service. And I really feel strongly that we are given lots of opportunities right now to recognize that clown energy and just hold space for healing and growth. And the way that purification's been showing up for me recently, one, in this time of harvest, just leaning into the fresh produce, the things that are present and available in the earth right now seasonally, and what's being offered to us in the way of the medicinal herbs that are ready to harvest, what's been available foraging in the forest with the rose hips to boost our vitamin C, with the mushrooms to have these high protein, high energy myceliums working with our body, working with our cells. Those have been really potent. And also paying attention to where we're sourcing our water and how we engage in those water prayers as we intake this water into our body, raising the vibration of our water to give thanks in the morning, setting that intention. Jen, I watched your podcast today, Journey to Truth with Tyler, and I don't remember the other gentleman's name, but really talking about how we can really bring intention into our day, and how setting that intention of purity, of purification in our lives really sets the tone for when those challenges come up. We can use it as an opportunity for purification. And one of the concepts that really has spoken to me in that lens of coming out of the introspection of bear energy, coming into the creative energy and purifying energy of Unchi Iktomi, is the lesson of impermanence. And the message that keeps showing up really strong is how so often we're given these opportunities in life, and the opportunity feels like the next lesson, or it feels safe, it feels comforting, it feels nurturing. So we create this grip around this opportunity or what feels comfortable or safe. And oftentimes, because of that comfortability, we hold on beyond the expiration. So it goes from the opportunity of being a purification aspect or a teacher into a limitation and a constricting energy. So the message that's been coming through with that is the freedom of ungripping, of letting go, so that that web can continue to weave. Because if we hold on, we stop weaving that web, and it's static, it becomes stasis. But if we loosen our grip and we let go and we like leap into that discomfort, then we have the opportunity for that spiral to continue to grow out, and more lessons of purification, more lessons of service show up for us. So in my yoga teaching, that's what I spend most of my time doing in my professional life. It's really, this lesson is really likened to the breath. And I love this example of the breath. We inhale, we take a breath. It's nurturing, it's wholesome, safe, it's supportive, it's life-giving. And then what if we hold that breath and we never let it go? Then it's ultimately serving the energy of ending our experience of life. But through that exhale, we have the gift of the next safety, the next comfort, the next growth, the next purification, and we continue that cycle. And to me, that's just like such a mirror parallel of purification, is that concept of impermanence, and how impermanence is that gift that shows up for us again and again, but only if we exhale. That purification is the exhale that creates space for new experiences. So that's what's been showing up for me.
Oh, I love all of that. And, you know, I really feel that when you say it too, just the breath and how we can let things go so that we can open up for something new. And that's also touching into what's also happening with the equinox and the ceremony of Thanksgiving, which is the 12/12 solar ceremony that starts with this. It's also like the second day of sun dancing too, because it's what we're praying in. But so in the 12/12 star teaching, solar teachings, ceremony of Thanksgiving, it's star spider, or I'm sorry, star wind and spider of destiny and grandfather breath that are coming in to support us on this next season. And so like that encouragement is there to take big breaths, because, you know, that breath is what clears us on so many levels. And, you know, star wind is working with the birth, life, and death cycle. So like you said, with letting go, it's like we can give ourselves permission to have like our own personal death so that we can create, because this is the complete place of creation and creating. And so yeah, in your breath is the wind from the stars that fill your thoughts with love. Breathe a life worth living. The spider of destiny cleans the future of human, oak, pebble, star, and frequency. And the spider flame glows the photon light of resurrection. So that was a small part of the message that I wrote down for myself, because, you know, it's just clearing and washing all forms of our life is what's available for us right now. So thank you for sharing that part, Amanda. And let's hear from you, Zoe.
So interrelating with all that's been said, the purification of the breath, yes, using different, in my own personal practice as well, using different types of breath to activate the inner fire, which then raises up to assist the deeper purification process within the bodies. And that the power, it's my favorite, the power of that deep surrender, of the letting go, of exhaling and non-breathing, and you have an experience, that retention of breath from the end of the exhale, of this absolute spaciousness, and this opportunity then that the cells can truly start to purify and release and let go beyond this holding on of this attachment. The purification, what else has been showing up is the purification of lifetimes and past lifetimes that you've had, and they've come around for an opportunity to see what was there before, to bring it into a level of forgiveness and compassion and unconditional love, of releasing entanglements that maybe you start feeling in your body. So if someone is feeling heavy in their body and very dense, there's an aspect that's holding on. And as we purify, then the body starts to show up what's actually showing up on a deeper energetic level. So not only what you're putting in your body with your food, your nourishment, how you're speaking to your body, the emotions that you're feeling, how you're touching your body. Are you giving yourself an opportunity to rest and unplug? Because right now we're going through this powerful realignment, refinement, recalibration, and the bodysuits are changing. The bodysuit is actually purifying overnight as we sleep. So it's really important to bring grounding into that, to assist with the energies, to ground them down and earth them down, which also brings it into the foods that you're eating, so root vegetables. So purification of relationships, noticing what's served its purpose, and then being in integrity with that and expressing your truth. The other big thing that's been showing up is how the shadows of opinion and judgment, how they can create this massive toxic environment within the cellular structure. And it's seeing the perfection in all that's playing out, and there's a bridge in between that about being in integrity and really being courageous in expressing what's coming up for you moment to moment, and also having compassion to those, interweaving with what Mel said as well, with others when they're going through the digester phase and, you know, they're learning. So we're really returning to innocence. There's a lot of innocence coming through, and this newness and this freshness of really allowing this to dissolve what we hold on to and dropping deeper and deeper into our heart, which requires us to open, be vulnerable. And yeah, the breath is very, very powerful, and it's something I definitely work with all the time. It's our key to our consciousness and our connection to all that is, and the space and the prana that is flowing through all of us and everyone that's tuning in right now in this moment. We're all connected. Yeah.
Thank you, Zoe. Yeah, I mean, like, this purification is so multi-level, multi-dimensional, multi-faceted. You know, I've been working with the Star Knowledge teachings for almost probably going on 12 years now. And this is probably one of my favorite times of the lunar cycles because of the opportunity to cut cords and purify. We have an opportunity to really break free from codependency in relationships. And doing so is very liberating because we're more in integrity and we're feeding off of our own energy and connection to spirit. And, you know, I've had to do a lot of work within my relationship, my divine union, to move away from being completely codependent to becoming just really self-reliant, but in a way that is very nurturing to all of my relationships. And so, you know, an example, you know, it's just way back when, before I even started doing any work on myself, I had this constant need to control everything to feel safe. It was just a channel that ran in within me. And I think a lot of women can identify that with that, because it's like the fear of the future and not being protected and not being provided for is an underlying shadow that gets activated and can really wreak havoc on a personal relationship, you know, a codependent or a divine union. And so I've really just made a lot of effort in that reality to become more self-reliant, which isn't pushing away my partner, but it's establishing roots and a foundation underneath me that I can stand on with strength to be able to have a full cup, so that I can come into the relationship with my divine partner and have a nurturing flow of beauty and love. That is, that's how we navigate now. We have awesome communication. We honor each other when we are falling into a trigger, and we hold space for each other where we're at. And if I feel like this need, like if I'm scared of something not coming through, like you talked about, Amanda, with the impermanence and letting go, we help each other do that. But I do a lot of the work myself now, whereas I used to really externalize my power and seek assistance from others. So just tuning into that kind of work and stepping into that level of purification. What do you all see, like, in the collective, as we're, as more and more people are starting to do this work? How are you seeing people showing up in their relationships now?
Well, I'll jump into that and just reflect about, just recently I had to get rid of a lot of stuff, like stuff that I had accumulated in Australia. And I had to sift through and be like, what's important to me, what's not important to me. And I had to fit that into backpacks to travel, and so I'm just really hyper present to the, like, how people can get dependent and codependent to stuff and to material things and to those things making them feel safe, or providing some false sense of security. Like I brought some things that now I'm like, really, like, did you need that many like devices and gadgets like to support your, like your work? I don't know, maybe I'll use them all, but some I'm looking up and I'm like, I don't know, maybe I didn't need a speaker. Maybe I didn't need like a little charging bank. Like these things are just like a funny little mess of gadgets that I have. Or like, I had almost a backpack full of like supplements and things that I thought I might need while I'm traveling in third world countries. And, they're supporting me right now, but I'm kind of looking at the amount of them and I'm like, really? Like, Melanie, couldn't you just lean in a little more, and there's some things that I wish I brought, I wish I brought my cacao. I wish I brought like some other things. So it's just a funny little inventory that I'm doing right now. And like, just checking. And I know for most people, like in the Western world, there's a much bigger issue than what I'm dealing with right now, like a couple handful of items that I had to put in the backpacks, but like really looking at all the stuff that you have in your home. And again, like with the breath out, with the exhale, like what can you let go of? Like what can you really just shed now? What are you not using? Like, can you actually give it away? Maybe it's useful to somebody else. Like, can we start to recycle things like that, where we're not holding or hoarding and like really holding up that energy for moving and shifting where it needs to go on a collective level, Yeah, so that's something that is coming up as you're talking about in relationship.
Mm-hmm.
With that, I really relate to that. My husband and I just got back from a 10-day backpacking and hunting trip where we spent all the time in the backwoods, backcountry of Colorado with our packs. And we each had about 60 pounds worth of gear that we hiked with. And the simplicity of that, of not having the excess, of not having all of those external things to distract from the present moment, really created this sense of embodiment of a new perspective on healthy boundaries. And I saw that relate to the physical aspect of what are you literally carrying on your back? How heavy is it? And do you need to carry that around when you're climbing a mountain? Like that can be such a huge metaphor, right? But it was like real, one step at a time. And when I liken that to the collective from my personal experience in my internal journey in that 30 miles in 6.5 days of hiking with that 60 pounds on my back, was really this deep reflection of how easy it is to blur the boundaries and create projection around where your challenges are. Like it was a physical challenge, it was a mental challenge, and it was so easy to just look at my partner and be like, you're the reason that I feel this way. And then just to like listen to the trees and go filter some water out of the creek and then sit down and be like, oh, I'm the reason I'm here. And this is why I'm processing this. And coming back to the city and back to society, just coming to our house, which is small and modest, and we don't have a lot of extra, but what we do have, within 5 hours of being home, I was just like, I am so overwhelmed by all this baggage. It's unnecessary. I can fit everything I need in my backpack. I don't need the rest of this. And it was really interesting to see like that flip perspective. And in interrelationship within society, what I see happening is as we purify, as we step into that foundation of empowerment you're talking about, Jen, of like going into the internal lens rather than externalizing, what I'm seeing show up is people creating more healthy boundaries, the ability to say no, thank you, and not have it be an altercation or friction, but just simply, no, thank you, that's not for me today. And carrying on, where I think some years in the past, there would have been a lot more push and pull around that. And I feel like that's like, as we've passed through this eye of solar energy, through this corona experience globally, we've passed through this space of purification, of separation from all that codependency that we unconsciously created in society. And now people have, because they had to learn how to rely more on that inner system, on that introspection. And I see that showing up. And that was, really highlighted for me in this journey on the hill as we went through our journey and we went through our hunt and seeing what we really needed and what we really didn't. And I see that in people, like where we always thought we needed all these external grabs to feel safe, to feel whole, to feel like we can process, go rely on your therapist, go rely on your practitioner. And there's a decline in that because people are taking ownership. And I feel like that's hugely powerful for the collective and for all of us.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah to that. Mm-hmm. It's like when we can stop the externalization, the amount of confidence and integrity that starts to pour through from our inner core is so amplified, and it's so energizing to everyone around us. So I love that, and I love the ripple effect. So right on. And Zoe,
can I just say really quickly, when you said corona effect, I thought you actually meant the sun, and then I was like, oh, she's talking about like the other, and how much duality there is in that. I was like, anyways, that was my little
sun, and I was talking about that.
See, yeah,
it's one and the same. It comes from the sun. That's all solar, like Southgate transformation.
Yeah. Love it. I'm glad I highlighted that.
Yeah, I liked that moment too. I felt like this burst of energy come through when you did that too.
Yeah, cute.
Yeah, I love the way things show up personally to give you that reflection of what's happening collectively. So in my own personal life, really being in that embodied state of joy and not allowing any external opinion to smash that, i.e. I'm going to call it out, my 3D mom. And I do say 3D as we came in and we had these beautiful 3D caretakers of this divine journey that we went through. And I feel quite comfortable saying that, but there was a very pivotal opportunity of really, that's not okay. And no, this is done. This is done. A real clear of setting of boundaries and seeing the other with loving compassion and not playing that game anymore. Not even feeling I need to mend that game or go back or, do my part to hold that space, because through the whole corona experience, I was playing that role as it was all divinely there to assist evolving consciousness. So I was there supporting a lot. And this was a point of no more. And I'm, so it felt really, and there's been a few of those opportunities actually where I've expressed by being in integrity and expressing my voice from a grounded place and not allowing others to put their own entanglement or their projection onto you because you feel so grounded. It's been a shit road getting to this point, right? So it's like it wasn't just from 2020, it was way before. So let's be really real. And there were a few incidents that kept coming up. There was this attempt to try and like hook in, and it was like, no, that is not how I'm feeling. And then expressing in pure clarity and conviction, which does feel very courageous. It's the courageous path, and it's about truly being in integrity. And it was absolutely divine, as neither of the individuals were able to receive. Two of them completely silenced and no response, which was, that's okay. Some moths will get burnt by the light and they go back around, and it's all part of that, what's playing out, and really stepping away from what no longer serves and standing in that essence, is knowing when you actually do that, you're putting an anchor in the ground that really, and I know my role is to raise the bar, keep raising the bar so we can do better, we can be better, which often creates friction. And I'll always begin with myself. Where am I out of integrity? Where can I truly step up? So I do feel that with the collective, there's that ownership, yes, which is pivotal. People learning. So I have a little analogy. It's called their oar. It's about shifting beyond the blame game. You're in your little ship, you're in your little boat, and you have to have an oar. And that oar has ownership. It has accountability, and it has responsibility. And when the individual realizes that on their little boat, in their little ship, they have this oar, they get to choose that, they get to utilize it, they can start steering the direction of their life. And I feel that is what's really happening. And that is the pivotal shift from the smog and smoke screen of victim consciousness that I do feel it's more and more people that truly start stepping into what it means to be free, which is also tied up with innocence, because we were born free and then we forgot. So yes, I do feel it's a very exciting time, and allowing others to stay on their own wave, owning your wave, owning your lane, and be like, actually get the F back in your lane. I love you from over here, and you need to get the F in your own lane, and being okay with that, right? Because we're all learning, we're all kids. So
yeah, get the F in your own lane.
What on another level, what's playing out on that level of that that being so stuck in your opinion and your judgment because you didn't feel heard as a child, you didn't feel heard as those teenage years. So then you've gone into the rebel of well, I'm just going to go against authority, which is a pattern playing out. And I do see that playing out. And there's an opportunity for each to truly shift, that you don't have to be like that. You can actually do it very silently and very much in a place of integrity to see the perfection of it all.
Yeah, no, I know this is such a great topic too, the boundaries, because I know my experience working with other people is boundaries, setting boundaries and holding boundaries can be really, really challenging for some people. And what I found was, from my own personal journey, instead of saying, no, I don't want that, or no, that doesn't work for me, or no, I switched my languaging, and it took work because I wasn't used to doing it another way. But I had to sit and really ask myself, what is it that I do need? And what is it that would make me the happiest? And then switching my languaging around to, well, this would really make me happy, or I really, really love it when you do this. And like adding the encouraging words to what we do want. I don't know, I just felt like it was important to share that because, this is a space to provide new perspectives and tools and things for other people, including ourselves here and each other. Just, ways that we can help with the ascension. And good boundaries, I think, are important because for me, it's like, I want to be around similar frequency type energy. And, because we're working with the law of attraction. So, the more we can be in a space of joy within ourselves, the more joyful people we're going to start to draw into our field. And if we're stuck in a trigger and maybe not setting healthy boundaries and feeling really pissed or resentful, it's just going to keep drawing in similar energy. So that's another form of purification, is just really monitoring your own frequency, because and we're all mirroring to each other. So, if somebody's signaling something to you, it's a good time to look at it. And it looks like Amanda needs to scoot off the call for now. So I'm going to just jump over and say thank you so much for joining us, Amanda. That was really awesome to have you with us today.
So great.
Thank you so much, ladies. It's so fun to be here, and I look forward to hopefully being part of these conversations more in the future. It's so empowering to be surrounded by such women full of integrity and full of their own power and actively walking their dharma. And thank you, Jen, sister. I love you so much. Ladies,
I love you too.
An amazing equinox and new moon, and I hope to see you real soon.
Sounds good. I'll post your information in the comments section of the video, so that way people can find you easier after this is finished recording. So thank you, and feel free to drop off when you need to.
Okay. I got about 10-ish minutes, so I'll hang out.
Okay, cool. We're getting close, actually. So, all right, well, cool. On that note of good boundaries and how, our frequencies and everything can really interplay with our purification. What else? What do you all feel like we should also bring into the mix here for this next?
Well, I have a little bit of jumping off with the boundaries too, in that piece that's like that I feel like is the compromise piece when it comes to boundaries, right? Where it's like we have this longing and we have this desire, but we may like compromise another part of our boundary structure to kind of chase after that need or have that need get met. And I think that's where the boundary things gets really a little murky or a little complicated, or people get confused. And so that was just coming up as you were speaking about boundaries, Jen, because I think in relationship, it gets tricky with also projecting into someone you're in relationship with that they can meet a need that you're longing for. Like there's a little trap that happens when you're like, okay, I have this need. This person's saying that they can meet that need. They actually don't have the capacity to meet that need. So then I'm not getting my need met, and then I'm getting upset. And then I have, there's this kind of cycle of disharmony that gets created in that. And so then I think like, okay, then where you have to actually get clear is like seeing the other person in their what is, instead of seeing the person as what they're saying they are. And so how do you like negotiate that? Like, and how do you come to terms with that when you have a longing or a need that you're hoping to get met? And I just wanted to name that because it's something that's come into my field and in the past and in the recent past. And so it's always like, oh, well, yeah, it's more as to how do I stay in my grounding and my clear sight and have my own knowing and not go based on what the other person's purporting, what they can offer. So that's another purification noting.
I wanted to go off the back of that actually,
Yeah.
with how energetically you have a longing where you may be invited into a space of vulnerability. And there's a big thing around energetic boundaries where if you then feel your energy getting siphoned off because the other is feeling powerful from you in your space of vulnerability, you will feel it in your body. And I did have this show up for me, and it was my body was getting heavier and heavier and heavier. Like it felt like my life force was getting sucked out. And I really had a check-in with a sister, called it out. I knew exactly where it was coming from. And then really setting some commanding purification, clearing the energy, the intention that was siphoning off my vulnerability, as there was a deep longing for that to be heard. Does that make sense? So I could feel it in my energetic body, and I had to really, and it was a beautiful initiation for me to be really aware of how easy vulnerability can get fed off. It can give another source of power, even a source of energetic arousal, because they feel in this powerful space. And yeah, it was a beautiful initiation to really clear with some clearing commands and standing in my own truth of my integrity, and then clearing that up. And then I felt my life force returning in my body, and it was super fast. So boundaries can be, they're invisible. They can also be energetic. So it's really important that we are regularly cleansing, clearing, whatever that means to us, and really tuning in to what is playing out on an energetic level. Where's everybody?
Yeah,
gone?
speaking of energetics, we just lost two.
I know. There they are.
Yeah, I know that sometimes the internet connection can get really wonky, especially when we're having discussions such as what we are having, because of the internet.
Yeah. It was really interesting though, Jen. I'd never really looked at vulnerability in that way. And it really gave me a deeper understanding of really being super clear with your intention whenever holding space with vulnerability. And especially with going into things like the inner child that is so vulnerable and sacred. And yeah, not having little bits of doubt put into your, when you feel very clear and you're streaming ahead. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I have a lot firing off just based on what you both shared, and just in my personal being vulnerable and sharing in my own personal relationship. We've been together almost 21 years, and like the last 10 years were like our everything changed 10 years ago, because we went on to a hyperdrive kind of spiritual initiation that we had to clean up everything. And we were so out of integrity, both of us. And it led to a lot of really bad decisions and choices and actions within the relationship. But, to kind of just tune in, what I was hearing you share, it reminded me of like having to try and negotiate with a narcissist. You can't sway somebody's mind, or turn them off from trying to siphon off your energy if they're actually getting off on your vulnerability. So the only way it can work is by clearly expressing your need or expectation, and it being communicated, and the other person holding the space for that to come through without taking anything personally or becoming defensive. And those are all really challenging things, because we're talking about really sensitive and vulnerable things that we may need. And so for me, it's like we've had to kind of cross bridges by simply being in communication and doing our best to hold space and not taking things personally, becoming defensive, and actively looking for a compromise, and just playing with new ideas together. And, you know, how can we fulfill these needs, you know, when maybe I can't fully do exactly what it is that you want me to do. And so, you know, I don't know that there ever is a perfect situation or perfect all encompassing reality within any relationship. But really, you know, if we can be in our heart and have a heart-centered conversation and honor all the emotion that might present itself, and even honor that maybe we're just not ready to have this conversation right now. I need to go steam off for a few and come back. So, you know, communication is just such a big piece of conscious coupling and, you know, having a divine partnership, divine union. It can take a lot of work. So, yeah, I mean, good stuff. This is all really amazing conversation, and thank you for being so vulnerable here with me as well. I guess maybe we might have lost Mel. We knew we were gonna see Amanda drop off, and I think we're coming in on about an hour of our roundtable today. So yeah, Zoe, is there any final words that you want to just put in for this next moon cycle, or anything else that you're feeling?
It's about having some time out, really, to reflect on what we've gone through and where you're at and what you're really wanting to work on right now, and being really clear with that. And then with that, the lesson will income for you to further continue purification and to have fun with it. You know, we came here to have fun, and the lightness assists us to shift through it quicker and lean into those that will see you and get you and hold space for you without them telling you what to do, simply being able there to witness. And I feel that's really important, that we have that support system to be witnessed, so we can continue to shift and evolve and grow and remember.
Beautiful. Yeah, and you know, I'm not sure if I mentioned what the test is of this next moon cycle, which I find rather fascinating, is that this test of the 11th moon is at the 11th hour. Finally hear the angels sing and harmonize energy and song with the voice of the grandfathers and the grandmothers. So somewhere in there is a test, but for me, it feels like a celebration, because we're reaching the top of the tree of life at this point, being in the 11th dimension. So we've already all done a tremendous amount of work. And really, like, this month can be such a beautiful time of self-nurturing and, you know, purification. You know, it can be really beautiful and very purposeful and really liberating. So on that note, I just want to say thank you so much to you and everyone that was here joining us for this amazing conversation. I'm Jen with Moons of Ascension. You can find me at starknowledge.org. Zoe, tell them real quick where they can find you.
You can find me on zoe-anna.com. I've got some upcoming events, one in Adelaide in October, and then also one in Newcastle in October. So yeah, if you're in Australia, come along and play.
Awesome. Yay. And so, yeah, I'm going to be hosting more podcasts, more interviews coming up, starting actually this coming week. I've got a new guest coming on. So if you missed the podcast interview with Bliss Prema, that is now available for replay as well. She's got some amazing stuff coming up as well. Her program starting this month, or her Conscious Evolver program. Really, really good work happening there. So on that note, thank you so much for joining in. And until next time, take care. Live with an open heart. Much love.